Disclaimer: This episode discusses suicidal ideations and extreme content that may be triggering to some. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to another episode of 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Today's guest has an incredible story of resilience and grit. Jason Andrews grew up in California with dreams of becoming a chef, but 9/11 changed everything. That day set him on a path into the military, serving both the Army and the Coast Guard, where he found himself connected to some of the most high-profile cases in recent history. But Jason's story doesn't stop there. After multiple surgeries, a TBI, and even a time when doctors told him he'd never walk again, he faced his darkest moment, a moment when he almost didn't make it. Yet today, Jason is not only walking, he's running marathons, tackling Spartan races, and pushing toward a Guinness World Record. In this conversation, we talk about service, struggle, fatherhood, and Jason's mission to help veterans and build a community for men who need it most. Plus, we'll hear about his new podcast, Alpha Ready, and what's next for his powerhouse of perseverance. You don't want to miss this one. Let's dive in.
You're listening to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice, where we honor the bravery of the first responders and the families who stand behind them. Real people, real stories, real heroes. This is 8158. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of 8158 Podcast Stories of Sacrifice. Today's guests, we have Jason. He is former military, and he is also a CEO of Alpha Ready Co. And let's welcome Jason to the podcast. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing all right, man. How you doing?
Pretty good.
I appreciate it. I feel very thankful for being on your podcast, man. You have an amazing podcast. Watched several episodes, and the stories you guys tell is just truly remarkable, truly amazing.
Yeah, we're trying to do our best to get the word out there to help as many veterans and first responders as we can.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it's our honor, it's our pleasure, and this is how we give back to our community and to our first responders and vets, and also to honor my cousin's memory as well.
Wow, that's amazing, man. That's truly remarkable.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and get into your questions here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You grew up in California. What was life like for you as a kid?
My family grew up poor. We didn't have that much money. My mom and dad, they worked, but they didn't make a lot. And so me and my brother had hand-me-downs, and went through the thrift stores, bought hand-me-downs. We didn't have money to go and buy nice clothes from the mall. The first time I've ever bought anything new, like a new shirt or a new pair of pants, um, was when my first job I had, in high school. That was the only opportunity I had. We didn't have that type of luxury or style or anything like that. But it was a great childhood. I mean, me and my brother, we would use our imagination. We would be out there and, pretending to be Power Rangers and pretend to be, all kinds of, just what kids do, playing with Legos and Nerf guns and laser tag. And it was a great time. It was a great childhood. I'm very thankful on that because it taught me now, in my 40s, to be grateful for what you have, because I didn't have that as a kid. I didn't have a lot of the things that my daughter has as a kid, at all.
Right.
I remember making my Power Rangers outfit, for Halloween out of paper, markers and paper, and taping it, making it, because my parents couldn't have money to, pay for a costume. So, but it was a great, memorable childhood when it comes to when you don't have that much, to find your resources to still have fun and be a kid. So,
Right.
yeah.
I could definitely relate to that. We didn't have a whole lot growing up, and yeah, we had to find unique ways of coming up with costumes and that. And,
Oh yeah.
you're from California. My wife, she's from Orange, California, And I was born in Oakland, California. I lived in the Bay Area for 18 years.
Oh man, that's a beautiful. It's a beautiful place. Been
Yeah,
there, lived there for about a few years. Beautiful place, but yeah. I mean, I'm born and raised in San Diego, and it's an amazing city. And came here to Houston, Texas, and I'll talk to you later about why. But it's uh, it's a change. It's a huge change. So,
absolutely. Yeah. I've never been that far south. I've only been as far as King City, and that's about as far as I've been.
oh, you got to come down here, man. You got to come down.
Well, we're in Kentucky now, so it's
Oh,
it's a
nice.
ways.
How did you go from Oakland to Kentucky? I mean, that is a ways, and it's a whole different change.
That's definitely a story.
All right, all right.
So when I was 18, I was in juvenile hall, and my mom, she got bad on drugs, and she said she had to leave California. Well, she was originally supposed to move to Michigan, and I was 18 at the time, and I told my mom, I was like, you just need to get out, just
Yeah.
go. I'll meet up with you later
Yep.
when I get done with this. And so she was on her way to Michigan, stopped into Montana to see some friends, and she stayed in Montana.
Oh, all right, all right, man.
And
Hey,
then it's a beautiful state.
it's a beautiful state. It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I met up with her in Montana, and I lived in Montana for 20 years. And then after my mom passed away, I ended up moving to Michigan, and didn't like Michigan all that much. I
Yeah.
mean, it wasn't my favorite place to live, so I just moved closer to where I was working. So I
Okay.
moved out for like 7 years, and then
Right.
Brianne and we kind of reconnected as we met in Montana.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's good to hear, man. Wow.
So she was down here, and I just decided to move down here and be with her.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that. It's always good when you reconnect with family. It really is. So
Absolutely.
sometimes it's harder to say than done, but when you have the opportunity, I definitely recommend for anybody that is going through that in their life right now to definitely try to reconnect. Like I said, sometimes it's hard. You'll try it. Other people won't let that happen, and at least you
Right.
could say you tried. So
Exactly.
yep.
But Kentucky's a really, really laid back state. I love it here. It's chill. As long as you're
I,
not in
I've
Louisville or Lexington.
I've never been, but I'm down to visit one day. So
Yeah.
sounds like a yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty laid back. It's beautiful country. I mean, it reminds me of Montana. So
Oh, nice, nice.
yeah. Yes, sir. Um, so going back to the questions here, at the age of 17, you were on track to become a chef at one time.
Yep.
Um,
Prior to 9/11, right? So pretty much everything. I mean, if 9/11 did not happen, I would probably be a chef somewhere in a restaurant. I would not be doing what you see behind me done.
okay.
Um, it was I had during high school I wanted to become a cook, and I love to cook. Thought this was going to be it. You know what I mean? And the teachers in the high school saw that in culinary arts class, I was actually teaching other people how to cook and enjoyed it. Just enjoyed the process. Made gourmet dishes at home for my family, my mom and dad, and my brother, and it was a great time. And so I graduated high school with a full scholarship to La Cordon Bleu Culinary Arts School in San Diego, one of the top cooking schools. And it was a blessing. I was like, oh my goodness, man, this is great. So graduated June 2001. Obviously, like once again, I said, my parents were very living in, poor, trying to make ends meet, paycheck to paycheck. So I knew, yeah, okay, that's great. I got school paid for, but I still need a car, you know, gas, insurance, all the stuff that normal comes. So got a job, working part time and going to school part time as well. So I got a job. I still wanted to stay in the restaurant industry, so I got a job at the Radisson Hotel in San Diego, California. And it's crazy because there's a shadow box right here that still has my name tag in it. I kept all my name tags from every job I ever had in high school and a little bit after high school before I joined the military. So it's great job at the Radisson Hotel. It's called the Sheraton now. They bought out, and it was a 20-story hotel, restaurant, room service, the whole nine yards. So that's what I did. I worked in the restaurant, brought up room service to everybody in the hotel. I wake up on 9/11, and I wake up, get ready for work. My parents were glued to the TV set. I'm 17 years old. And I looked at it and I go, what is going on? I mean, I was young. I'm just like, never thought in a million years joining the military that was a question. Never thought that. And my parents literally thought they were watching a movie. And I'm watching it. This is before the second plane hit the other tower. And I'm
Right.
watching it, and it just looked like a movie, like Independence Day or a movie like that. And all of a sudden, right in front of me, you see that other plane hit the tower. And
Oh,
it just blew my mind. It just did something inside me right when that happened. And then all of a sudden, news started reporting in that the Pentagon been hit, and then Pennsylvania. And I was just, it looked like a dream. It looked literally like a dream that I was dreaming this. And so I remember I wasn't supposed to start work till like 3 o'clock. My boss calls me at 12 and he's like, hey, how fast can you get to work? And I'm like, well, I have nothing else going on right now. Yeah, I'll be right there. And I said, why? And he goes, no one can leave. Like the whole place is packed because all the flights were grounded. And
Mhm.
so sure enough, I go to work and that place I've never seen it that packed before. That whole restaurant was packed. The lobby was packed. No one could leave. You know what I mean? So people that were supposed to fly out that day, that was it. They could not. And they didn't know how long until those planes were going to be operational. So people were sitting around, sitting on their luggage, sitting in the restaurant. The hotel brought TVs, those big old box TVs that you see, that are in high schools,
Yeah.
and so they bought the box TVs and they brought them out. And it was all night. I'm watching this. I mean, everywhere I went, if I'm in the restaurant serving people, that was it. That was all the news. If I was, if I was, going taking food up to the rooms, instead of whatever they're watching on TV, what normal people watch, they're watching the news. Not one person was watching something else on TV. Every single room that I brought food into had the news on. And so just seeing that constant all day, all day, all day, I'm going, oh my goodness, man, this is crazy. This is something until like a fire lit inside me. And it just kept lighting and lighting and lighting to the point where about 3 weeks later, after 9/11, I got laid off. That's when all the tourism industry just went to downhill. Like no one was flying, no one was staying anywhere. Everything just went downhill. And so that was it. I was like, oh man, okay, well, I'm still going to school, but I need a job. And so I got a job at SeaWorld in San Diego. And just working at SeaWorld, I was, enjoying it. I was one of the entertainment people that stood up props for the shows. And there's a show called Cirque de la Mir. And what it is, it's like this little island show. They do the acrobats and, there's people on jet skis and stuff in the middle of the Mission Bay. And one of my job was pretty much take a small boat out into the island, load it up with props for the shows after every show. And then during the show, making sure like wires were tied, for all the performers and all that stuff, all the safety precautions behind the scenes. And I remember, so you're going on now about 2 months after 9/11. Well, obviously, being on the news, 9/11 being on the news, hasn't gone out, from the news. I mean, they're still looking for, they're still removing rubble, they're still looking for bodies, all that. And so that's just constant on the news, constant on the news. And one day I'm at work and I see the Coast Guard in their little boat, like a 41-foot boat in Mission Bay. And they had this huge machine gun up in the front, and a guy was just strapped with an M4 or M16. And he's just standing there, obviously security was so heightened at that time. And so I was just like, and I just kept looking at him and kept looking at him. And I remember looking at him, like making eye contact because he wasn't too far from me. And I'm like, what is that? What is this? This is cool. Like this guy looks, badass. Like, what is this? And, one of the guys like, oh, that's the Coast Guard and they do this and do this. Like I said, I never thought in a million years I'd go in the military. So I never like researched it. I never thought about it. I never asked questions, nothing. My thing was I was going to become a cook, own a restaurant, and that was it. You know what I mean? And so sure enough, it just keep seeing the news, keep seeing the news, keep seeing the news. I finally go, that's it. That's it. I'm going to go find out where this Coast Guard recruiting office is. And sure enough, it was 4 blocks from SeaWorld. It was like what do you call it, fate, literally right there. And so right after work, I go to the recruiting office, and within 3 months, I was in basic training.
Hmm.
And that was it. That was it. And who knew that would start a ripple effect in my life of being in the military, serving and protecting this great country, and then just everything that I've been through went from being in culinary arts and wanting to become a cook to, you know, being in law enforcement, being in the military, getting a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I had no idea that that would be the chapter of my life. If you told me that before I graduated high school, I'd look at you and be like, you're crazy, because that's not something in my head I would do. And
Right.
now I look back and literally just that one day of these horrible people attacking this great nation I live in just lit a fire and just completely changed the course and changed my entire life forever.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely a day that is singed in our brains.
Yep.
Anybody that was alive during that time that
Yeah.
was watching that. Yeah, I remember watching that. That was just a shocker.
Oh, it was. It's still shocking to me. I still, every anniversary, I that's like my way to remember those people that were lost, to watch everything that happened that day, like it was square one. And to me, it's still a shocker that that happened. It still shocks me that these people did what they did. And yeah, I'm glad it hasn't happened again. And we're doing everything we can to keep this country safe. But obviously, there's still bad people out there that want to do bad things in this country. So,
Absolutely. There's a lot of fanatics, and then uh just never know.
yep, never know.
So many fanatical radicals that want to hate on our country for one reason or another.
And you know what? Here's the thing. I've been to other countries. I've seen how they live. And in my head, it's like, if you don't want to be in this country, leave.
Mm,
This is the best country on earth. The stuff that our citizens have, the things that our country has here, the freedom, the benefits, there's just so much. I could make a, 100-page list that other countries don't have. It's like, if you're not happy here, if you don't like it here for whatever reason, go. Go.
right.
There's the border. Go, because I love this country. I love being a part of this country. I love living in this country, and I love protecting this country.
Absolutely. Amen. Uh, you'd served 2 tours with the Coast Guard
And so it's not really tours, like more like deployments. So
deployments.
yeah, so I did, my first station out of boot camp was station San Francisco, station Golden Gate, San Francisco station. And it was a great time. I was, a young E2, E3 coming out of basic. And when you're doing the E2, E3 work, you're doing all the, all the grunt work, all the shitty jobs and stuff like that. And that's only temporary until you make rank. And so I'm out there, painting the boat. I'm driving the boat as well, getting trained in, because they know I'm going to be a coxswain and a bosun's mate and all that. But you're doing
Yeah.
all the just the grunt stuff. But one of the things that affected me the most being there was the jumpers that were jumping from San Francisco Bay Bridge. And when I reported there, I noticed there was a chaplain, there was a psychiatrist. For a small unit, it was just kind of awkward. That doesn't happen. And I remember being there, being young, at a basic. You're on fire. You're motivated. You're just like ready to go and help. You're ready to go and like just accomplish the Coast Guard mission. And
Mm,
I remember we get a call of the radio, and it said, hey, we got a body in the water, in the bay by the Golden Gate Bridge. And we're like, okay, let's. And I'm going like, let's go. Like, I'm getting the lines. I'm getting the boat ready. And you see all the other Coast Guard guys. I mean, they're going, but they're not in that type of rush. And I was kind of confused. I was like, "What do you mean? There's a body in the water?" And they're like, "Don't worry, it's still going to be there when we get there." And I didn't get that at first. I'm like, "What do you mean?" Kid coming out of basic, all motivated, and we get there, and sure enough, there's a body floating in the water, already deceased. And I was confused because I'm like, "Wait a minute, how? Where's the boat?" I'm thinking like, and they're like, "Dude, there's no boat. He's a jumper." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And we were nowhere near the Golden Gate Bridge, but the body floated.
yeah.
And so I'm just like, what? And so I get a little hook and, fish him out of the bay, put him on the boat. We have a black tarp. We put the black tarp over him, go take him back to the pier. And, San Francisco PD's there. The coroner's office is there to take the body and identify it and go from there. that was the first time in my life at 17 years old, 18, just turned 18, seeing a dead body. First time. What I literally didn't know was that that was not going to be my first time or my last time, sorry, seeing a dead body.
Right.
And after that, it just was literally daily, daily. One here, two here, during the holidays, I mean, three, four, a day, several, a day will go by nothing. And then all of a sudden the next day will be like five or six, you know, and during the holidays was insane. It was horrific because you're thinking all these people that just took their own life, jumping from the Golden Gate Bridge or the Oakland Bay Bridge, they didn't have no one to talk to. They didn't have no one to go, hey man, I'm just not doing good in life right now. I need someone to talk to. This is affecting me. This is just really just, there's a lot of things going on. And I want someone to talk to. You're telling me that you didn't have someone to talk to. And if you did have someone to talk to, that person probably did not take what you're telling them serious and did not affect a change in you to make it where that how precious your life is that you want to do such a thing to yourself.
Right.
And that sat with me for so long, even to this day, seeing these bodies that I took out. And you could see where they jumped. You could see the body decay. You could see where the body impacted the water because it's like hitting bricks from that high up. Some of them had like half a skull and, animals got to it a little bit. And so you're seeing this. And, that's one thing from a post all that till now is your brain is a powerful thing to the point where there's when dark times in my life, like really dark times in my life, and I'll share with those here when you bring that up, that those bodies show up to me
Mhm.
and pretty much say, "Hey, come with us, follow us." You know what I mean? And your brain is going, "This is a dark time in my life. I'm going through this. I'm going through that. Why not? Why not? It's not going to get better." You know, that's what you think, anyways, at that time. And so you almost start believing these ghostly figures in your brain that you've seen already take their own life, and it's a very mentally hard thing to feeling that and that was probably the hardest time being there. That was the hardest time. And I know a buddy of mine, a lieutenant commander in the Coast Guard, great friend of mine, and he told me, he's like, hey man, we just celebrated his little goodbye party about a few months ago. And he's like, hey man, I'm going to, Station San Francisco. And I'm like, man, I go, let me know. You call me. You call
Mhm.
me if there's anything that you need to talk about. I'm always here because I know how it is being there. And I know the other guys that have been there, like it's one of those tough situations being there at that station. So
All right. Yeah, it's definitely very tough, especially when you're going through a lot. I know that holidays are the hardest for people, and it seems like that's when people do their business during the holidays.
it's life is so precious.
Yeah,
It's so precious, no matter what you're going through, and it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it at all.
exactly. Yeah, it's definitely not worth taking your own life, and there's so much more to life than what you're going through at that moment. Um, so let's talk about the time that you had met the convicted murderer Scott Peterson.
So being in San Francisco, I was in San Francisco 2023 and a little 2024. I think like a month into 2025. I mean, sorry, yeah, yeah, 2020, 2005. And
Mhm.
it was a crazy, weird thing. So we get a phone call from San Francisco PD, and all of a sudden you just see a bunch of San Francisco PD units coming on our base and saying, "Hey, we need you guys to go out and search for a body. There's this lady that's pregnant, missing. We don't know who did it." This was at the time before that he was arrested. They had evidence piling up that they believe it was him, but they just haven't had enough evidence yet to make the arrest.
Mhm.
And so we want you guys to go out there and try to find his body. So every day we were out in the bay looking for Lacey Peterson. And if you Google Coast Guard and San Francisco Bay looking for Lacey Peterson, there's a picture of me. Someone took it from the shoreline, and I'm literally kind of like bent over at the bow of the boat. I was like, that was me. And it's crazy to see that now, how big that case got. At
Yeah.
that time, I was young. You didn't think anything of it. You're just thinking, okay, someone, they're just looking for a body, someone killed her or whatever. You're just thinking it's sad, but it's part of the job. And so we're doing this every day, looking. I mean, we're there's so much trash in that bay that, we're looking through any floating tarps, any floating objects, anything to see if, could be underneath or whatever, and so we have pretty much a hook, just picking up everything from the bay. And even if it's trash, we're still picking it up. We're not throwing it back, because we just go ahead and throw it away if it is.
Right.
But I remember, I don't know how this happened. I don't know how he pulled this off. But like I said, this is before he was arrested. So sure enough, one day, Scott Peterson comes on our boat, to take a quick, he wanted to help. This is at the time when he's like putting up signs and posters and going in front of the media saying, "Hey, I'm looking for my wife. Please, if you, go out and look for her," and all this stuff. And so sure enough, he comes on our boat. I don't know how he got approval for this. That's so long ago. I don't know. Things have changed obviously since then. And so he's there with me, standing there with me, looking out, trying to find his wife's body with me. And I remember one incident where I'm looking through binoculars. I'm on the bow of the boat. And all of a sudden, I see this like blue tarp floating, just like this blue tarp floating, and had some rope on it. And I was like, "Oh, that's weird," So I tell the coxswain, and we head over there. And right when I said that, like I made it loud so the coxswain could hear it, and I was like, "Hey, we got something over here." And another Coast Guard guy looked at the binoculars, confirmed it. Man, immediately Scott grabbed the binoculars out of my hand, and without asking anything, and just started looking at what I saw. And I just thought that was weird. He goes, and finally he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and he gives them back to me. And I'm like, "All right." His whole demeanor that entire time, I was young, like I said, 18, 19. And that whole demeanor, he was just so relaxed before we found that piece of trash. So
Yeah.
relaxed, so just kind of laid back, like he was talking to someone. I don't know these people he was talking to. And in my head, I always thought that, I was like, man, if my pregnant wife was missing, I would not be just so chilled and relaxed. You know what I mean? I would be desperate. I'd be like, "Okay, guys, where else can we look? Where else can we find, where she's at?" I'm doing everything I can. I'm on the phone talking to people. I'm doing everything I can to try to find out where she's at. You know what I mean? But his whole demeanor was so chilled and relaxed. And so finally, you know, when we came across that blue tarp, man, it was so paranoia, it blew my mind. Like it was everything that in my body, just like that little spidey sense everybody has,
Yeah.
you know,
Tingle.
that
Yeah.
tingling, yeah, like something's off. And at that young age, I still felt that. And I remember going, he's like, what is it? And I'm just trying to get the hook. Like he almost like pushed me off the boat, because I'm like half my body's off the boat trying to get this piece of trash, this tarp. And like he's just right on me. I'm like, "Bro, like let me," So I grab it, and and I put it on the boat, and obviously there was no body in there, nothing like that. And he was just odd. Like it was just paranoia. And then finally at the end of it, he goes, "Hey, thank you guys so much." He was giving us thanks and praise. And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And after the end of it, he was like, his demeanor changed once again. It went from paranoia to like almost sigh of relief. Like, "Oh, okay. Another day,
Mhm.
they didn't find her." You know what I'm saying? Like that's just it
Yep.
was like more of a weird sigh of relief. And I remember feeling that way. I'm like, "Man, this guy's just something's off with him, man." I never thought, I mean, you had that feeling, like, man, this guy must have did something, or involved into something, because even the other Coast Guard guys were like, "No, man, it's off, man. Something's off with him."
Right.
And then sure enough, months later, when he was trying to escape into Mexico and they caught him and they arrested him and it was on the news, I was like, "Oh crap." Like you knew like, okay, my senses were right. Something was right on this. You know what I mean? And
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and to this day, obviously the dude's in prison. And I don't know if you guys saw that documentary that there's a group of people, the Innocence Project in California, they're trying to get him out and claim that
Yeah.
he's innocent and all this stuff. And I remember watching that documentary. And I remember I was watching with my wife, and she said this because I told her about all this, and I actually showed that picture again. I was like, oh shit, that's me right there. And I told her all this, and she goes, "All right, I'm going to sit and watch this documentary with no evidence that I know of already, like just a clean slate, like I'm a juror, and just
Yeah.
go, okay, let me see if there's anything that would justify his being innocent." So we're watching this 2 hour documentary. I think it's on, oh man, it's on some streaming service. I think it was HBO or Paramount, or I can't remember exactly. I'm sure you could Google it if you're interested. And so my wife and I, obviously me, I'm just like, this guy's guilty. Like anything that they come up with, I'm like, all right, this guy's guilty. My wife's like, no, I'm gonna give it a fair shake. I'm gonna watch this as a juror with no bias. And so going into like the first few episodes, I looked at my wife. I'm like, all right, juror, what do you think? Yeah, there's nothing still that shows that he's innocent. You know what I mean? Like I haven't got anything yet that shows that he didn't do this. You know what I mean? I was like, okay. So finally, after the whole documentary's done, I go up to, I joke around with my wife. I'm like, all right, what's your verdict? He's like, oh, this motherfucker's guilty. Like, there's nothing that showed that he didn't do it. Like there's nothing. They try to bring up this evidence that they found where around the time they were searching for Lacey's body, neighborhood search, this is before he was arrested, all this. And
Yeah.
they'll show this in the documentary that they found a van in this homeless encampment type of area, which was about 6 miles from where their house was.
Yeah.
And it was on fire. For whatever reason, it was on fire, homeless encampment. So someone just vandalized it, lit on fire. Old broken down van. Well, when the firemen came and lit up, took out the fire, they found a mattress in the back with stained blood.
Hmm.
All right. And that was it. They didn't do anything with the stained blood. They didn't process it. That was it. And they just got rid of the vehicle, and the vehicle no longer exists. So a lot of people think Lacey was killed there. But the problem was she wasn't stabbed. Autopsy reports came back. She was choked. She
Yeah.
wasn't
Strangulation.
stabbed. Strangulation. So it's like, how can that be her blood if there was no blood? You know what I mean? But obviously they'll try to make any justification and pull evidence out of a hat and do all kinds of stuff. And then they try to blame the detectives that they didn't do their job and process evidence on time. So that evidence was tainted. Documentary is pretty eye opener. You know what I mean? They're trying to find.
Yeah.
So obviously the people that made the documentary want him out of prison innocent. So you're looking at it from that point of view, and you're like, yeah, it's still not good enough, especially if you're law enforcement, you've trained and you learn stuff. You're like, I get what you're doing, but it's still not, you don't got enough evidence here still. There's still something off. You know what I mean? I mean, you got to think that the warehouse he was in, the rope, the concrete bricks, his own
Mhm.
boat, all that had his fingerprints on it. All that had been used. He's saying he was at the lake. There's so much, I mean, the bay, there was so much stuff that tied him, and then I think the trigger that finally tied him was his side hustle, his side piece that he had on the
Yeah.
side. I mean, when that came out and the detectives, and she actually called the police station and said, hey, I see this guy on the news, saying he's talking about his wife missing. I know him. Here's some text message to prove it. And then she worked with the PD and got recordings and all this stuff of him talking. I think that just pretty much sealed the deal for him. That was it. You know what I
Good
mean? That
stuff.
was the
Good
police
stuff.
was like, all right, that was it. And then you try to escape to Mexico. You just literally made yourself guilty in all senses of mind when they catch you at the
You're
border right
right.
there, like, come on. Yeah. So it's a great documentary if you want to watch it. I forgot what stream it is, but you learn a lot from that point of view. And you're like, and you watch it as a juror, and you're still like, I mean, whatever side you switch. There's been people, I made a thing about a few months ago on my Instagram stories, and there was people that still said, no, he's innocent. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, no judge, no harm, no foul. That's whatever you want to feel on that. That's great, for whatever reason. But yeah, there's still people, man, that think he's innocent, that he didn't kill his wife. So,
Right.
you know,
It's sad that she lost her life and their baby
yep,
as well.
yep. It's very sad. Very, very sad.
And it's two innocent people.
Yep, yep. For what? What?
Yeah.
You wanted a side piece.
I
You
mean,
didn't want to have. You don't want to be a dad. You don't want that responsibility of being the dad.
exactly.
And if you want your side piece, have your side piece, but find a way to break it off with your wife, still be a good dad.
Yeah,
Something,
don't.
there's all kinds of different ways you could do that, except instead of killing both of them. So yeah.
It's a sad situation all the way around. It should have
Yep.
never happened.
Yep.
It's horrible. So that kind of leads us into you're still in the Coast Guard and you are in Aruba in 2005. So tell us about that story.
All right. So that is so I tell people the Scott Peterson thing, and they're like, "Oh, that's crazy," and show them pictures and all this, and it was a cool experience. Never thought that would go how crazy it would been on the news. The media frenzy behind that. Like I never thought that would be. Um, so I go to A school, Bosa A school in Yorktown, Virginia, and I get like the first day I get on the board of the Coast Guard Cutter Northland in Portsmouth, Virginia. Never even took leave, nothing. Just reported there in my Bravo uniform. That was it. And they were about to get deployed. I mean, deployed in about 2 weeks. So we're getting the ship ready. I'm learning. I'm an E4. I'm a petty officer. Now I'm in charge of people. You know what I mean? So now it's a whole different ball game for me. Never been a leader in my life. So yeah, I learned that from square one and how to lead. So have people respect you. And so our AOR was Aruba, Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, Colombia, Gulf of Mexico at the time, obviously Gulf of America now. But that was our AOR, catch and go fast coming from Colombia, migrants coming from Haiti, Colombia, all the southern countries. That was our AOR. That's where we'd go. We go down there for a few months, come back up, go back down there, come back up for about a month, and then go back down. And it's just, it's not like the Navy. We were out for 6, 7, 8 months, and then come back for a month. Ours was quite a bit because we didn't have that many areas to store, for supplies and all that. So you're constantly going in and then coming out.
Right.
And so on one of the deployments, I'm not an engineer. My job was on the bridge, driving the boat, and I would be the coxswain for the small boats. And I was a boarding officer catching, going on go fast boats, taking narcotics onto our main boat, as well as the criminals on our main boat. So it was pretty much law enforcement officer, in the Coast Guard, but as well as driving the boat, a coxswain, and all that stuff. You have all kinds of different jobs. You don't just have one job. Like you have like 10 different jobs when you're in the Coast Guard and any military branch. And so I remember driving the boat and I just completely lost control. Like there was no engine, there was nothing. Like just everything just kind of shut off. And I remember standing there going, the ship, and I'm like, the captain, one of the officers looked at me like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I have no power. Like just completely everything just shut off. I cannot even steer the rudders. I can't do nothing." And so the officer starts making phone calls to the engine room, and the engine room's like, "I have, same issues. There's something going on." And and honestly, man, if you like engines, if you like being in the engine room, in a hot engine room on the bottom of a ship, man, kudos to you, bro. That is a job that only a few people could bear and endure in a hot room, in a loud room. You're wearing earphone buffs all the time. Kudos to you, man. Barely coming up to see the sun. That's my salute goes out to you guys, all the engineers, all those guys that do that, submariners, all that, because there's no way in hell I could do something like that. I have to see the sun. I have to see up the ocean. I got to see the fresh air. I got to feel all that. And
Right.
so they're making phone calls or doing all that. Somehow or another, something with the props, something with the rudder, it just completely broke and fell off. Something happened down there that, I mean, I don't know too much about that part, but something happened that we had no control. We would not get control. That was it. So we had to get towed into Aruba. That's probably the most funniest thing you ever see is a Coast Guard ship being towed, piloted into, a dock that, because we couldn't even drive it ourselves. And so we get into Aruba, and pretty much the captain's like, "All right, we're going to be here for a while because we don't know how long this is going to take to fix. Because now they got to fly in supplies, fly in people. There's all kinds of things that happen. Now, this stuff happens all the time. You just don't hear about it. And the Navy and the military, there's all kinds of stuff that happens where your people they're stranded in the middle of the ocean and you can't do anything. And so they fly in people, they tow your boat to the closest, American base or port or whatever that's clear by, and they start working on the vessel. And so we're there, we're in Aruba, and when you're in a port for that long, you still got to work. It's not like you're on vacation, so you do your 8 hours on whatever it is, getting gear supplies ready, painting, getting your guys painting the boat. There's all kinds of little just, stuff you have to do. And then you have watch as well. So either you got, security watch on the ship, You have quarterdeck watch, which is pretty much security on the pier, make sure no one comes on the ship that they're not supposed to. And this is 24/7. So there's always someone up 24/7. And I remember one day, so we're going into now a few days, few weeks. I can't remember the exact time frame of that. But I remember the Rivian Police Department starts heading our way, and I could see them walking on the pier, and there's like 5, 6 guys, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And when anytime that many police come to your ship, someone did something stupid. You know what I mean? One of your sailors or one of your shipmates did something stupid, and they're about to inform the captain or make an arrest or something. And anytime someone gets arrested in the military, it's the main officer has to bail them out. So it's not a good time for that officer. You're going to get in trouble for something. So they started coming to the quarterdeck, and they had papers on there. And so, they tell me, they're like, "Hey, can you put this on your quarterdeck window?" It's like a little box I was in with AC, a little log and all that. And I'm like, "Yeah." And I look at it, and it says missing person, Natalie Holloway, a white girl, beautiful, missing. And I'm like, "Oh, that sucks. That's horrible." And they're looking for her. And I'm like, "Okay, yeah." So I tape it to the quarterdeck. So every time a Coast Guard member comes in, gets on the ship, they're looking, they're seeing that. I'm just thinking it's just the same thing. Another person's missing, and that was it. And sure enough, there are more and more questions. There's more and more stuff going around. Okay. And they start questioning more and more people. I'm seeing it just out and about. You go out and you start just, after 8 hours, you go out and you do your thing. You eat, you could drink, if you're over 21, if you're, you could go rent jet skis. It's pretty much your free for all, whatever you want to do. Obviously, don't do something stupid. But the more and more I'm talking to people and seeing this, because this is just, it started spreading. You're seeing more and more of these signs up. You're seeing more PDs looking. You're seeing more. It's just as the days go on and the weeks go on, the search just starts getting bigger. And finally, I'm kind of going, okay. So I finally talked to someone, and they're like, "Yeah, she went missing on this date. Her last known location was Charleston Carly's, Charleston Carlos bar, restaurant type of thing. It was like a club as well. And what was crazy is that day she was missing, I ate there for dinner."
We will return after this quick ad break.
The William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is on a mission to honor first responders and support those who serve. We provide scholarships for families who have lost a hero in the line of duty, offer second chances to juvenile offenders who are working to rebuild their future, and help new recruits pursuing careers as first responders. Through generous donations and the sale of merchandise, we're building a community that uplifts, empowers, and creates lasting impact. You can be a part of this mission as well. Visit 8158podcast.com to donate or shop today. Together, we can support those who serve, honor those we've lost, and give hope to those who need it most. Behind every badge is a story, and behind every story is a sacrifice. This is the 8158 podcast, where we honor the lives and legacies of first responders and their families. If our mission speaks to your heart, if these stories move you like they move us, join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get ad-free listening, exclusive merchandise, behind-the-scenes content, and video episodes only available to our patrons. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you can be a part of it. Support us at patreon.com/8158podcast. Let's continue to share the stories that deserve to be heard.
I ate there for dinner that same time that they found the time frame, the date. I don't know if it was the same time frame, but it was the same date the last time when they saw her there.
Oh, geez.
That little outside patio, and me and a couple buddies were just, I was still not old enough to drink, so we're just eating dinner. And at that time, I didn't know until they started talking and they're like, "Hey, yeah, this is her time frame." I'm like, "Wait a minute, I remember being there." And I have a picture, a little color picture of me and the guys, right in front of, you see the Carlson Charles bar behind me. and you see the time date stamp right there. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh shit, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was crazy. And I didn't, obviously they get the boat fixed and we leave and we go back and do our normal deployment. And sure enough, months later, this has started getting big. The case started just building up higher and higher. And, it was crazy that in my life, I've been involved in a weird way, just in a weird situation with the military, two high profile criminal cases, and obviously Jordan Vandersloot, killed her. And, they've never found the body. Obviously, probably took it to a place in the ocean that, he knew
Right.
what he was doing because obviously he killed that girl in Peru as well, his other girlfriend. So this just dude was just, he was messed up anyways. And, it's horrible if these women died under his hands. But I'm telling you right now, guys, people that are out there, you don't know what time and place where something happens where you're in a place where history is about to change for someone's life, or
Right.
media or news or anything like that. It's crazy. I don't know, like if you going back to 9/11, there's another documentary I watched where these guys are just normal filmmakers that are filming a firefighter recruit going through the training in his first unit. And great documentary if you guys haven't seen it yet. And they're going through just film this guy in training. Like, hey, this is the life of a firefighter from day one when he gets hired all the way to when he reports at the station. So it was like the second week that he reported after the academy. That's when 9/11 happened. And so this guy has, I mean, you've been in law enforcement or firefighting or any type of first responder job, being 2 weeks on the job after the academy, you don't know crap. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're still under a training officer. You don't know nothing. So at that
Oh, bro.
time, exactly, you're probie. You don't know crap. You're just doing the grunt work again. And everybody's done it. Every single person that's been in those first responder jobs have been doing grunt work because you were probie, and then you build your base and you start getting older and you're no longer that, no longer a
Right.
rookie or anything like that. And this dude, they didn't want him to go out. They want him to man the radios. So every single firefighter in that station went out. He's the one manning the radios. And these filmmakers, they were Italy or France or something like that. They went out to with these firemen, and they had no idea what kind of day they were going to have. And everything's on tape. Everything that you see is on tape live. These guys didn't stop filming. They just kept filming. And they were there in the tower when the tower collapsed on them.
Mm.
And you see the tower collapsing on them. And they got out. And this is what a remarkable story with this is that all of them made it back to their fire station. All of them did.
Oh,
Not
wow.
one firefighter from that day passed in that fire station. There's other fire stations right around the corner that unfortunately that happened. And one fire station, literally no one came back. But
Right.
all this was on film. All this was on film. So it's crazy is that like you go every day you wake up and you go through your life and you go through your normal day-to-day routine. You don't know what kind of history that you're about to be in on that day. You know what I mean? It's just that's the thing. A lot of people are like you live your life, but you don't know what kind of life you're going to live every single day. You could hope for it's a good one. You hope that it's normal everyday routine life. And the majority it is. But then there's that
Right.
one day where it just completely changes your whole history in a good way or a bad way or something that you don't even have control over. So
Yeah. Definitely feel that. I'm
oh yeah.
experiencing that right now.
Oh yeah.
You
I love
know,
your setup, by the way, man. I like your background, the flag and everything. There's a badass setup back there, bro.
thank you. I
So
appreciate that.
yeah, man.
Yeah. When we bought this house, I told her that this is my room, my office.
Just,
We- yeah,
why
we
is
got
it
a 3-bedroom house. So
nice? Nice. Why is it that we have to like we love our spouses and all that, but it's like when you get the house or property, like my wife, and same thing with our house. We bought this house a few years ago, and you walk in the main living room, and there's an office to your right.
uh,
My wife looks in the office, she had bookshelves already made, all this stuff. And she's like, can I keep this office? Can I have this office? Like, this is my office. I was like, yeah, babe, that's fine. Like, yeah, that's fine. She has a little notary business and stuff and, the
right.
little side hustle. And, she's the CFO of our family. So I'm like, yeah, you need office. That's fine. Get you a desk and a couple chairs. But I go, the garage is mine. I go,
Right.
anything I want to do with that garage, You can't say anything. Anything I want to hang up, anything I want to do, you can't. That's the rule. You can have the office, and I won't tell you what to do with your office. Do whatever you want to do with your office. Hang up. If you need help hanging up, I'll help you hang up stuff. But I will not do anything with your office. I won't even sit at your desk if I need to use a computer.
Right.
But the garage is mine. And she's like, all right. But she goes, I need somewhere to hang my reefs. I'm like, all right. I'll hang up. Like I'm looking at the reefs right now, right in front of me. It's a 3-car garage, and I got about 6 reefs. I'm like, okay, I'll give you 10% of it. But other than that, the whole entire garage is filled with everything that, from medals and ribbons to certificates to my military stuff to pictures of my family, my daughter, flags. If you look on the camera on the top, you can't really see it, but there's every, branches of service flags and law enforcement flag, and obviously the American flag. But, but people come in, they're like, man, how did your wife let you do this? I go, she has the office. That's why. So that's our arrangement. That's it. So,
Yeah. That's pretty much the same thing here. Is we have our own space. I mean, we have our room together, and then we have 2 extra bedrooms.
Yeah.
One is your office next door there, and mine was initially just like a hobby station, just get set up and do hobbies and stuff. And
oh, nice, yeah.
And I turned it into an office when we did the podcast.
And a podcast studio. That's even better. Heck yeah, man. Definitely.
Yeah.
So
it worked out pretty good.
Oh yeah. No, it looks nice. You got a great set, man. Great room. Heck yeah.
Appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like what you got going on there. I see your history.
I appreciate. I mean, there's way more. You just can't even. This just goes down all the way down here with all the cool stuff that. And I think that's one thing. A lot of people, they go, "Why do you do this?" I said, "I don't do it for myself." I said, "I do it for my daughter because I want to make sure that she could see, number one, who's her dad. What kind of life her dad has lived, and built that patriotism that I want to make sure that she has." And I think that's the thing too, that a lot of these kids and a lot of these, you see these teenagers and college kids out there, the last few months, especially protesting and throwing rocks at police and all the stuff you see in Los Angeles. And you're like, why, what happened? What happened? Why are they like that? Why are they have this hate for law enforcement? Why do they have this hate for first responders and military and their country? It's because they weren't raised. They didn't have this mindset of, no, you appreciate the flag. You appreciate men and women in uniform. You know what I mean? You appreciate the people that died for this country, that protect this country every single day. And that's one thing with my 4.5-year-old daughter now, my only kid, that I'm making sure that, every time we, normally we'd be coursing here, but every time that, we go to anywhere, I show her the American flag. I said, what's that? She goes, the American flag. I'm like, that's right. I have my Texans flag and, Astro flag and stuff right here as well. But it's like, I want to make sure that every time we're out and about, if she sees a law enforcement officer, if she sees someone in military uniform, I go, those are the real heroes. Those are the real heroes right there. I know you like watching your superhero cartoons. There's nothing wrong in that. It's like Ghost Spider and Ladybug and all these superhero cartoons on TV. And that's great. But these are the real people right here that protect us every single day, exactly. And have died in the line of duty from, law enforcement to military to first responders to protect us, to save us, to help us. Those are the real superheroes right there. And I want to make sure my daughter knows that every single time we're out and about, I walk her up to a police officer and go, say thank you. And she goes, thank you. And, the police officer has the stickers. There was one time, man, that we went to a fair, like a normal rodeo fair type of thing. And there was so many police officers, so many law enforcement recruiting booths that she loves stickers now. And she goes, so she knew that every time she went to a cop, they would give her a sticker. So she walked around to every single, and I'm there watching her. She walked to every single recruiting booth. Thank you. And they gave her a sticker and they put a sticker on her. Her shirt, I couldn't even see her shirt anymore, just filled with badges of stickers on it. And it was awesome, man. It was just awesome. And then for the 4th of July here, we had a parade. I was very thankful to be in the parade with some Congressman Dan Crenshaw and a few other people. It was an awesome feeling. But I gave her a flag, like a little mini flag. And I told her, I'm like, because she saw me with the flag, so we're going to be passing out the flag. She goes, Daddy, can I have one? I'm like, absolutely. Here you go. I said, here's the thing, though. You do not drop the flag. I said, if you feel like your arm's too fat, just put it down softly. You do not drop it on the ground. If you don't want to hold it anymore, you give it to Mama, and she'll put it somewhere safe. And she goes, Daddy, I won't drop it. I'm like, okay. So I'm in the parade, and I see where my daughter is on the side, and my wife's yelling my name, and I look at my daughter, and she just has this flag up so high like this. And just you could see that she's just struggling to hold it, And I look and I'm waving at her. She's waving with one hand and have the flag up. And at the end of the parade, when I get back to them, and comes up to me, she goes, "Daddy, I didn't drop the flag." I'm like, "I saw that, baby. That's amazing." My wife tells me she would not put that flag down. She goes, "Baby, your arm's getting tired." She goes, "No," and she just kept like holding it, and it just like it got to me so much emotionally because I'm going, this is the type of people that are going to be the next military, are going to be the next leaders, are going to be the next people, the first responders, because they're going to see, I cherish this country, I cherish this flag, I cherish what this flag entails, this freedom that we have. And I just love, I'm a lot of people are like, man, I can't believe you're raising a daughter like that. I'm like, heck yeah. I said, she's a girl. She's a fighter though, man. Like she'll come up to me and she'll be like, "Dad, you want to wrestle and fight?" I'm like, "Let's go." And we'll be on the floor and she'd just be kicking me and just, putting me in chokeholds. And I'm like, "Oh man, like this is," and there's times where I'm not even expecting it. There's times where like I'm talking to my wife, I got a cup of coffee in my hand, I'm in a shirt, I'm just in my underwear, just in the house, just got home from work, just relaxing. And she'll come up to me and she'll just, "Hey daddy." I'm like, "What's up, baby?" Boom, just right in my just, oh, I'm like, got me into my knees. And I'm like, you can't be mad. You're teaching her, how to fight and defend herself. And she's like, "Did I do good?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, man,
Yeah.
you did good. Yeah. Give me a second. Give daddy a second. Hold on. Oh man, yeah, you did good. You know. And but I'm glad, like, and everything she's been through. She had 10 days old. She had open heart surgery. She passed away 24 hours after the surgery for a few minutes. That was the most probably darkest time when the nurse came in and all the bells and whistles were going off in her hospital room. And the nurses came in. She goes, "Don't worry, mom and dad. We're going to get her back." And you're just looking at the nurse going, where'd she go? You know what I mean? And you see a group of doctors and nurses doing everything that they do, and these heroes that are just saving my daughter's life. And to
Yeah.
look back then, to see her now, and this fighter, this warrior that she has in her, but she's still such a girl. I mean, she'll walk in her playroom, come back out with like jewelry and 20 necklaces and makeup all over her face and princess dresses. But this is the type of family I want to raise. This is the type of girl that I want to raise, where it's like, you be a girl, you be who you are. You grow up in this household of Christianity and Americana and military and law enforcement. And this is what I want you to have as you get older, because you're going to realize, you're like, "Man, I know what military is. I know what law enforcement is. I know what serving our country is. I know what this means to me." And she sees everything that her dad's been through medically. And there's times where she sees it and she doesn't understand certain things yet. Being a 4.5, and like with myself, my TBI is really bad. It's really bad to the point where my little girl, she's running around the house and she runs around the coffee table in circles. And the minute she does that first loop, I have to turn my back. And it sucks. It sucks because I can't see anything that's in circles. I can't see anything that has a fast motion. I'll just get dizzy to the point where I'll just pass out. That's how bad my TBI is, and it sucks. I can't even push her on a swing. Just the motion just starts making me dizzy. When we go to the zoo, my little girl loves being on the carousel, and my wife, amazing wife, she comes up with little things. She's like, "Daddy's coming," and she's like, "No, Daddy's gonna go get us popcorn. Daddy's gonna go get us a churro. He's gonna go use the restroom, and he's gonna come back." And little things like that to ensure my daughter, "Hey, I can't be on the carousel with you, but I'm gonna come back and you're gonna see me with something cool in my hands, either popcorn or
Right.
orange juice or something you want." But it hurts because obviously right now she's at that stage where it's like, "I want to be with daddy. I want daddy to see me. I want to hang out with daddy." And it's awesome, man. I love it. But having a disability, they don't understand that. And there's a time where we're wrestling and fighting, and she just goes and just takes her back of her hand, and I'm laying there, and she's just hitting my back, just being fine, like, "Daddy, I got you," and she's hitting my back. I'm like, "Oh." And then she just goes and takes a swing in the back of my head, and
Mm.
I'm like, "Oh man!" Like I just felt it, and I felt this like just nerve ending just go through my front of my head, and I just start feeling dizzy. And I remember just laying there, and she's like, my little girl's like, "Get up, daddy, come on, we're playing." And I just could not get up. Like I just felt so dizzy. And I'm yelling at my wife to come, and she comes, and I say, "Hey, take Sarah for a minute. Give me a minute." She's like, "Oh crap." And she knows I'm just trying to get my balance back and, room not spinning. But this is how, and it sucks. And that's one of the moments where I go, you kind of go, you don't want to go back into your dark hole. because you already been there in life. You already seen that dark hole in your life, but you're kind of going, you start feeling guilty. You start feeling like, man, am I a good dad? Man, you just feel like you feel crappy by yourself. You're like, man, because even though you know what's wrong with you, they don't. You know what I mean? And it's hard. And I fight those battles and those demons every day when it comes to certain things. When things pop up, when you're like, oh man, this sucks. You know what I mean? And there's times where, yeah, I'll just go to a room really quick and a few tears will come down, and I'm like, man, she doesn't get it. And I know as she gets older, she'll get it and she'll understand. But people that have disabilities and people that have certain things wrong with them that maybe other people may not see as visible, and they're struggling or battling with something. That's why, one thing that I tell people all the time, I go, stop judging, stop criticizing, stop
Mhm.
condemning, stop, you know, making fun of. You don't know what that person's going through every single day. You just don't. And it's like people this day and age, man, especially with social media being rampant the way it is, you don't hear that much good comments when it's a video. You're mostly
Right.
negative comments. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, no, man, you spread the, motivation, spread the caring, spread the help. If I see something where I'm ahead going, okay, that's kind of weird. That's saying back in the day when you were a kid, keep those comments to yourself. You know what I
Right.
mean? If you're gonna say something, don't say. If you're gonna say something bad, don't say it at all. And even on my clothing brand that I've been making and designing, I had a few people that come up already and say, "Oh, your shirts suck. No, that's not a cool brand." Cool. All right, man. Hey, I appreciate the support, man. Thanks. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, that's cool. Like if I saw a clothing brand and they're like, if someone came up to me like, "Hey, man, I'm about to do this. What do you think?" Those people are asking your opinion for a reason, because maybe half of them is like, I don't know if this is a good idea or not. You know what I
Right.
mean? And if you're a good friend, you're like, hey, bro, that's a great idea. Hey, you mind if I share maybe a bit of, knowledge or wisdom or something that could make it better? 99% of the time, they'd be like, yeah, man, that's great. Like, I'll design a shirt and I'll show my wife, I'll show my friends before I even send it to my vendor to make. And they'll be like, hey, you got to lower the logo a little bit, make it this, do this, do this. Yeah, you're right. And then I'll fix it and it looks way better. Instead of going, why are you criticizing me? Why, and no, man, they just want to help. They see it, they could be better. And they do that. And I think that's the biggest thing I tell people all the time. I go, that's the biggest thing I try to preach on Instagram all the time is, who did you motivate today? Who did you help today? You know what I mean? Who did you support today? Who did you give a phone call or text saying, "Hey, man, are you okay? I haven't heard from you in a while. Hey, man, let's go out for a beer. Let's go do this. Let's go out. If you don't drink, that's fine, man. Let's go." I've had people come up to me, and I do this poker night, and I'll let you bring that up here in a minute. That people are like, "Hey, man, I want to play poker at your house, but I don't drink. Is that okay?" I'm like, "Absolutely, man. I got Coke, I got water, I got juice." And
Mhm.
will anybody judge? Will anybody judge me? Absolutely not. That's not our thing here. You know what I mean? That's not what we do here. We don't judge, we don't condemn, we don't criticize, we don't make fun of. Yeah, we might bust your balls if everybody's checking on the poker table and you decide to throw down $1,000. Yeah, you're gonna have someone going, "What the hell, man? Come on, man, come on," because everybody's trying to keep playing, and you're just we know you got good cards now because you threw that type of money down. But
Right.
they might say something funny, but it's all in fun. Um, but I think that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to get on to everybody is that, let's say, be kind. Just be kind. Be kind to people. Help people. Motivate people. If someone comes up to you with an idea, don't smash it. Say, man,
Right.
that's a great idea. Maybe, if you do this or this or this, or I tell them, hey, man, are you open up to constructive criticism? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, cool. I like your idea. I would do this or add this or change this. But other than that,
Mhm.
keep what your idea was. I think that's a great idea. But this is how I could probably, this is my mindset. This would have, and honestly, they look at it like, oh, shoot, I didn't think of that. That's awesome. Heck yeah. And they do it. And it just looks, and they're just happy because they're like, man, this looks way better. I'm like, yeah. And I do the same thing with everything I do in my life. But I think that's the biggest thing I tell people, man, just be kind, be kind.
Yeah, exactly. Kindness goes a long ways.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely does. Um, so I don't know if we ever discussed this, but we did talk about how the doctors had told you that you would never walk again. Would you mind walking us through what happened and what led to that situation?
So I can't go into details on how the injury occurred because of
Okay.
I was at intelligence in the Army, and
Okay.
you have to abide by a lot of things and sign things, and where you were at, what you're doing, and a lot of things. But I pretty much got injured. The injury I had, based off the injury, I had to have three different surgeries on my right foot, pretty much taking out bone, tendons, ligaments, and replacing them with wires and metal and everything. Bad TBI, two pacemakers that I have in me now, a lot of things, back pain, just a normal, PTSD, back pain, depression, all the stuff that you go under. But when I joined the Army, my goal was to be in the Army for the rest of my life, to make a career out of it. I had my degree, become an officer. That was my goal. That was my future. That's what I was intending and my motivational to do. And when this injury happened, that was it. That was it. No matter how much I tried to fight to stay in, and I was someone that never did anything stupid in the military. I never got written up. I was always on time and did what I needed to do as a soldier to make sure I didn't have any negative attention on me, and did my job good. And they said, unfortunately, your injuries are too much. And that was it. I got medically discharged, and that was it. And it's a huge blow because you're going, man, I this was my goal. This was what I was going to do, and now here I am out of the military. I have no job, and I'm recovering. I'm gonna cast, and all these things that are going on with me, and you start kind of falling into a depression. And I had to report to the VA the next day in San Diego, and sure enough, I get to the VA, and they check on me and planning more surgeries and planning more appointments for me. And fast forward another time after I had another surgery, I'm laying in living at my parents' house before I had got married, before I had a kid, and no girlfriend at the time, and laying there, and I had a huge cast up to my thigh in my bed, recovering from these surgeries. And I remember before that, when I got discharged from the hospital, the doctor walked in and he goes, "Man, I'm just telling you right now, man, you probably will never walk or run again." He goes, "And if you do, it's going to be very hard. You're going to have a cane, you're going to have a crutch, maybe a wheelchair. It's not going to be the same anymore. You know what I mean? You're not." And all of a sudden, he just leaves after that. And I'm like, "Oh, that's laying here in the hospital. That's good to know, And obviously, in my head, going, "Wow, this is a life changing event. This is gonna suck." And obviously, a wheelchair comes, gets me. My parents are waiting for me. I get in the car and I go home. And being there at home with a cast that I'm in my 30s, that you cannot walk, you cannot do anything. And obviously, I had a shower. So my mom's showering me, which is the most humiliating thing that you could think of, you
Yeah.
know, something that, and it sucks. It does suck. And you have no privacy because your parents are constantly coming in, watching you, making sure you're okay, make sure you're taking your medicines you're supposed to take and feeding you and, bringing you food because I couldn't even move to sit up, so I had to get help. And it was just miserable. So I'm laying in my room, I got my TV, and day in, day out, day in, day out. This was my life. This was my life. And I'm a very active person. So not be able to work out, not be able to go out, hang with my friends, not be able to do things. You just start little by little, just start feeling this depression coming over you. You know what I mean? And it gets to the point where you kind of finally meet your breaking point. And what's scary is that when I was meeting my breaking point, all those people that I took out, all those dead people that I took out from the Bay Bridge started like appearing in my room
Mm.
in the form that when I picked them up at. So some of them had like barely a head. Some of them had, it was just, they were appearing there and pretty much saying, "Hey, follow us." And they kept saying, "Follow us." And I remember seeing that. I remember just praying. I was like, "Oh man, like heck no." And I'm praying, and every day they would appear. Every day it would appear. And finally, I was just like, "Okay." It kind of finally just, "Okay, I'll follow you guys." And I remember Now, a lot of people said, the amount of pills I put in my mouth, if I would have ingest that, it would have killed me. It would have probably just made me sick. But at that time, I didn't know. I'm not a pharmacist. I don't know what, medicines would do to your body if you take so much. I didn't know any of that. So my mentality was just, I didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to wake up anymore. So I remember putting about 5 of this, I don't want to say the name of it, this hardcore pain medication, prescription pain medication in my
Mhm.
mouth, several pills of them, and about to take a sip of water. And I remember before I took that sip of water, I go, what am I doing? Like something just snapped inside me, just like, what am I doing? And I remember spitting these pills out on the floor of my room, and I just started crying. I just started crying. And I don't think my parents were home, so I was by myself. I think they were out getting a few things, and they were going to be back in a few. And I just cried and cried and cried. And I remember called a buddy of mine. And I had friends check on me and see me, but obviously, as a man, how men are, buddy comes up, hey man, how you doing, buddy? How you doing, bro? You want anything to eat, man? I'll bring you some In and Out, anything. And I'm like, man, I'm good, man. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Yeah, yeah, just healing, recovering. I'm doing good. And you kind of play it off because you don't want
Mhm.
them to think less of you. That you don't want them to be, you don't want to be embarrassed. No, man, actually, I'm not doing good. I'm mentally disintegrating right now. You don't want to let them know that, you know what I mean? So you're just kind of like playing it cool. You're like, yeah, no, man, I'm cool. I'm doing good. And that's exactly what I was doing until that night. And finally I called him and he's like, hey man, you okay? I'm like, no, man, I'm not. I'm not. This is what I was about to do. And he's like, oh, hell no. And he came right over and he just talked to me and he told me, man, your life is too precious. You're just too precious. And just talk to me, give me motivation, just help me through it. And I think after that, after me opening up to him on how I felt, his appearance was more and more than it was before. To come 2 3 times a week after work and you know you're like, hey man, how you doing? How's everything? Man, doing good. We come over and bring food, and other things, and we'll watch some stuff on TV. He brought over his PlayStation, and we said play some video games. And remember one time he brought Battleship. I haven't played Battleship since I was a kid, and he's like, "Bro, you want to play Battleship?" I'm like, "Battleship, man, what?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, let's play some Battleship." I was like, all right. That was the funnest battleship game I ever had in my life. It was just, we were just having a blast with it because we both were prior military. So we both knew how to strategize our ships. So, like a
Yeah.
game that normally took you like 10 minutes took us almost an hour because of like, we were just the way we were strategizing our ships. We couldn't hit anything. It was hilarious. And we just laughed about it. So,
Right.
but it was a great time. But he helped me get through this. And little by little, I started building myself up. I started building my mindset up, that strong mindset that I knew I had inside me started finally coming up. And little by little, I kind of started moving around more and limping more. And I remember my mom got pissed because she's like, Jason, what are you doing? You know what's I said, I can't just lay here anymore. Like I can't. And then when the VA put me on a boot where I had a little bit more mobility, I just kept, okay, I'm gonna keep walking more and more. Obviously I had a crutch next to me just in case, kept walking more and more. And little by little, little by little, little by little, when finally the soft boot came off, and I was like, okay, that was probably the most scariest point of me is when you go from a hard cast to like a lighter cast to finally the soft boot, and you're in it
Mhm.
for almost 2 years. And then when that soft boot finally goes away and there's nothing there, just socks and shoes, you feel like you're just starting to walk all over again, like you're a kid. You know what I mean? You're just like, okay, okay. You still have your crutch, and I remember it was the same crutch I had from day one. And that crutch looked just messed up. I mean, the VA's like, do you want us to give you another one? I'm like, no, because I'm going to burn this thing when I'm done using it. Like, this is going to be burnt. Like, I'm just going to make sure this thing gets destroyed when I'm done using it. I'm not going to give it back to you guys, just to let you know. And I don't want a new one. Like, this is going to go to the grave with me. And so, sure enough, when that time where I felt like I don't need this crutch anymore, yeah, I did. I actually broke it in half and had a nice little kindling fire party in my backyard with it because I knew I didn't need it anymore. And
Right.
sorry, VA, I think I owe you like $100 or something. I don't know. We'll see. But you haven't asked for your bill for that yet. But so after that, I started going to do PTing, working out little by little, get my body back how it was. And years go on. I'm just, you kind of, your limitations, what you can do in the gym, what you can't do. And so I'm doing that. I'm walking light on the treadmill. I'm lifting weights, light weights, and whatever I could do to still be in shape, because I love the gym. I love working out. And really quick, if your listeners, if you guys have never worked out, if you've never hit the gym at all in your life, if you've never done any of that, and you're in your head, you're like, man, I need to work out. I want to hit the gym, but you either just don't, you say about time, you say, I don't know what to do there. There's so many different machines. Just walk in, just try it. And I can guarantee you right now, if you walk into a gym and you want to do a machine or you don't know what the heck these machines are, ask anybody. I could guarantee you right now, even if it's just a guy working out with his headphones on the gym, if you say, hey, man, can you help me show me how this? I guarantee you right now, that guy will stop what he's doing and go, hey, man, yeah, no problem. Let me show you what this machine does and what part of the body it does and all that. Because that's what those people are there for. They want to help other people. They're working out themselves. They got their headphones in. But when they see someone come in, because obviously when you're in the gym and you're in the same gym, your regulars, the same people there at what time they're coming. But when you see that new person coming in and they just look around, they don't know what to do. Just, hey man, what do you want to work on? Well, I want to work on hey, let me show you. And yeah, you're gonna have the trainers there and that want to help. Obviously, they want to build their clientele business, nothing wrong in that. But the people that just, hey man, I just kind of want to stay quiet. I'm here, but I need help. Guarantee you right now, if you ask anybody, they'll help you. Trust me, they will. You know what I mean? They will help you. But little by little, I started working out more and more. So finally came the time to put all this to the test, to put my body to the test as far as I'm going to put my body at.
Mhm.
And I was in San Diego, working in law enforcement. And all of a sudden, there's this hearing about this, and I didn't hear about this before with all the stuff I was going through. Thing called Baker to Vegas. It's a race that all kinds of law enforcement personnel come in from all over the world, really, come in the city of Las Vegas, and it's a baton race from city of Baker to Las Vegas. Huge race. I mean, thousand law enforcement all over the city. And so they asked for support staff. So support staff, you're driving the vehicle, the follow vehicle, you're being comms in the passenger seat, you're a medic in the van in case something happens. The support staff people, you're a backup runner in case someone gets injured, things like that. And so they're like, hey, we need support staff. I'm like, yeah, I'm down. I'm down to do this. It sounds fun, So they're like, okay, you're going to be comms. I'm like, no problem. So, they give you a little folder of what comms does and how to do it and, get on the radio channel, all this stuff. So
Mhm.
a week before, the plane's done, hotel's booked. I was
I
dating,
was
I
dating,
was dating
I was dating
my wife now, but she was my girlfriend at the time. And so we're going. Everything's done. We're ready to go. Do this Baker to Vegas trip. A week, it's about 2 weeks. 2 weeks before the race happens. We're still in San Diego. And the organizer of this event comes up and says, hey, I had 3 runners that had to drop for whatever reason. I think one of them got ill and other family emergency reasons. And they looked at me and they go, can you run? And in my head, I go, I could run, but I don't know how far. Because I've already been training on the treadmill little by little, not fast, but just
Right.
as much as my body could take and my foot could take. And they're like, well, they go, okay, well, what leg you want to do? And she goes, I have a 7 mile, I have an 8 mile, and I have a 4 mile. I said, you know what, let me do the 4 mile because I don't want to disappoint you and I don't know how far I could go. And obviously I was honest with her and told her what was going on with me. And it was just an easy 4 mile through the city of Pahrump, which is a level ground city. Because some of the legs are like you're going uphill, you know what I mean? And you watch these runners, I mean, you're not even really running anymore. You're just trying to climb this hill as fast as you can. And so I was like, all right. So I remember so we get to Vegas and the morning of, I was ecstatic. I was nervous, but I was ecstatic because I'm like, this is the first time I'm about to push my body to what it was before the injury and really see how far my body's going to go. And so I'm stretching in the hotel room and I go hit the gym. I do a little light type of, we're staying at the MGM Grand. And I don't know if you guys ever do this when you go on vacations, do the hotel gym. And especially go to Vegas hotel gyms. These gyms are huge and they're nice and they got everything there. So I remember walking in there, I was like, oh man, this is like a resort gym. It's crazy. So I get on the treadmill, do some light exercises, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm pumped. So we start headed up to where the races are at, and I'm at the line where you'll see the runner come, and he'll give you that baton, and you go. You know what I mean? So you have to be right there at that certain time, and you don't know. You don't know how long or fast that runner's going to be, but they have people. I mean, this is such a well organized event that they have people saying, okay, that runner's 1 mile out. So it gives you that 15 minutes to go use the restroom, hydrate really quick because you're on in a few minutes. So I
Mhm.
get in that chute. It's like a little chute area. And I see the runner come, and then he gives me the baton, and I take off. And then my follow car starts following behind me. And in that follow car, you have the driver, you have Tom's in the passenger seat, and you have the backup runner, and then my girlfriend at the time, or my wife now, sitting there. And I'm running, and I'm running. I got my headphones on, I got a good playlist going, and I'm running. And when you're running on adrenaline, you don't feel any pain. You don't feel it till probably you start seeing that finish line. And that's when you realize you're like, oh man, I'm almost done. But that adrenaline's wearing off. So that's
Yeah.
when you start feeling it, you know? And so I was going on to 3 miles. Now I'm not running fast. I'm running, enough pace to keep going. I see some of these guys passing me. Everybody's passing me. I'm like, I don't care. Like my goal is not to be the fastest, it's just to finish it, you know?
Right.
And so I'm like, I mean, and you could tell because they're wearing the shirts and the follow cars have to have their markings on them. So you see these like LAPD guys just hauling ass, you know what I mean? And you see the LAPD follow van. I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. Cool, cool. I mean, they have their own team. They do this stuff all the time, all year long. And
Right.
so I'm running. That last mile, I could see the finish line because you see it all lit up with lights and sirens and all that in the middle of the night. And I'm going, all right, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. But that's when I just feel it. Like my foot just is done. Like it's just literally dragging now. So I'm literally running as fast as I can, not fast, dragging my right foot to this finish line, just dragging it. And my wife, my girlfriend, is sitting in that van with the windows rolled down, and she's just yelling at me. She's just yelling motivational, just keep it going, go, go. Just, I mean, they're only going like a mile an hour because they got to keep up with the runner, you know what I mean? So they're not going that
Yeah.
fast. And just go, they're just like, she just yelling, just go, go, keep going, just motivated me. It was awesome. It was just that I needed that, you know what I mean? So finally, I finally passed the finish line. There's EMS personnel there to because they have to catch every runner to make sure to check them out, make sure check vitals, all that stuff. So I literally like right when I passed the finish line, that was it. My right foot was like, "You're done, you're done," and literally just cramped up, and I just like literally fell in the face forward into the EMS
Oh,
personnel. So they take me to the ambulance. They check everything. They give my vitals and all that. Give me water. So I'm sitting in the chair and I look at my right foot and it looks like a baseball, just swollen, purple and red, swollen. And they're like, give me some ice. And they put some ice pack on it. I'm laying there. My girlfriend's there and just all that. But my girlfriend's like, are you okay? How you feel? I'm like, amazing, amazing. Because I had someone tell me this would never happen. And I
right.
just proved them wrong. And I go, no. And that just lit another fire in me where right after that, and I remember too, that night we got to the hotel probably about like 11 o'clock at night after all that when we got done. I'm in PT shorts still. I'm in my shirt. And man, we just had the time of our lives. We didn't get back to our room until 6 in the morning because I was so high on adrenaline and excitement that I did that. I mean, these other runners, yeah, that's great. That's awesome that you did that. But with me, I have a different story than you guys. And I
Right.
was told that this would not happen.
You
And
weren't
so I'm out
supposed to
there,
walk.
I'm just exactly. And so I'm out there with my girlfriend, we're just living life in Las Vegas, partying it up and so much fun. You know what I mean? And months later, I go, man, I want to do this again. I want to do something else again. So I start researching like races and things that I never thought I would research. And now, if you look to my left, I've done one, two, three, four, five, six Spartan races,
Okay.
mud runs. My whole wall's full of metal that each one shows me whatever you could do it. And you have no limitations. Now, don't be wrong. When I'm done with them, am I paid? Absolutely, man. Like, I mean, I finish those finish lines literally collapsing to the ground. I feel it. I got to lay down lay on a bench or something for a while, elevate my foot, put some ice on it because I know I feel it.
Right.
But it was worth it. It was worth it because there's so many people out there that say, I can't do this. I can't do this. Or people are told, you can't do this. You can't do this. One of my heroes that I look up to a lot is a gentleman. I don't want to say his name, but he's famous. If you Google him, he's a pretty famous guy. Won the ESPN ESPY Award. He's in a wheelchair, has no arms, no limbs. I met him in
Mm.
San Diego years ago and met him just in downtown, just talking to him. Great guy. And I remember looking at him. I'm like, man, you look familiar. Where have I seen you before? And he goes, oh, you probably saw me on the news, a few weeks back. And the San Diego News did a special on him because he just got done winning the ESPN ESPY Awards. And he
Yeah.
has no arms, no legs. But the dude coaches Little League football. He coaches high school football and Little League football. So he coaches football and he uses his pen in his mouth to make plays on his tablet. And this dude has won championships, won medals, just great
Wow.
football team.
That's awesome.
And it's like a lot of people think that, I got this going on with me. I got this going on with me. I can't do this. I can't do this. Are you telling yourself you can't do this? Does someone else tell you you can't do this? Because I can tell you right now, anything you want to do, you could do. Anything
Yeah.
you can. You know what I mean? And yeah, is it going to hurt? Is it going to be hard? Yeah, it is. Nothing's easy, especially when you have a disability. Nothing's easy. But with enough perseverance, with enough hard work, with enough that mindset where you're like, screw this. I'm going to push myself. I'm going to push myself to the limit mentally, physically to do what I want to do and accomplish my goals and dreams. And nothing's going to stop me. And when you have that mindset, man, you're just living in the impossible. That's it. And I think that's one thing that I look at these medals every day. I come in the garage, I put trash away, I get in our cars, whatever's going on. I have poker night. And I look at these and it just keeps giving me that motivation every single day. Number one, not to go into that dark place that is so easy to do. And number two, to not listen to the haters, not listen to negative people in life that tell you can't do something, not listening to the people that say, yeah, you have this great dream, but that's not going to happen for whatever various reasons. That's what I see every time I look at those medals going, screw that. No, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep fighting for my goals and dreams. I'm going to keep motivating people to fight for their goals and dreams because every single person has something they want to do, but they're afraid of doing it. They can't do it for whatever reason. They don't know where to start to do. But when I come across people like that, I go, no, you can't do it. Well, what do you need to do? Well, I got it. Okay. Well, let me try to help you. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me use my skills I can to help you or point you in that direction where you can accomplish your goals and dreams. I have the buddies of mine that I did a podcast with a year ago. They never did a Spartan race. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, dude, you got to come with me, man. And these guys never done one. And my buddy, he's already done the Spartan Beast. I haven't done the Spartan Beast yet. I've been dying to. The Spartan Beast, I'll probably die when I'm done with it because it is that hard. It's about a 12 to 15 mile race with over 20, 30 obstacles. It will take you about 8 to 9 hours to do. And you have to do it in a certain time in order to get a medal. And my buddy Jonathan, great guy, actually did it before me. And when he showed me a picture and he's like, hey, man, look, I was like, heck yes, man. I was ecstatic. I was like, yes, brother. He pretty much did the trifecta within a short period of time. And that's the type of motivation I love to see. That's the type of stuff where it's like you're pushing yourself to do something you never thought of doing. And that's what these medals represent every single time I see that.
That's awesome.